Faster you move. Ba, 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 da, da, da. Well, get me to stop singing, cause I cannot do it well. I need you to move closer. Da, da, da. I need you to get a little closer for the session. Let's go. Close, 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 close. Okay. Filling these seats for me. There we go. Attorney Mitchell. You can't look that good and not be closer to everybody. Come on. Come on, Baba Mikasa. There you go. A little closer. Yep. Come on, brother. Come join us a little closer. How you doing? Oh, I'm excellent. Let's go. Come on, move in, move up, move in, move up, move in, move up. All right. Come inside the circle, not outside the circle. Inside, inside. Brother Fred Parham. Brother Kenyatta Bush. I know a lot of names. All right. Hello, everybody. Woo, that was 4 people. Hello, everybody. Woo! All right, this side. This side. I said, hello, everybody. All right, that's not bad. All right, this side. Hello, everybody. Woo, we got some baritones over here. All right, my name is Anana Harris Paris. I am a number of things, and right now I am the facilitator of this wonderful plenary session that's focused on the arts and activism and just how culture helps us get through the conditions that we live in and the conditions that we sometimes choose to create for ourselves. So we're going to use our creativity today to kind of help us learn a little bit how to take from here the freedom to be artistic so that we can help heal ourselves. Does that make sense? All right. Now, I'm not against counseling. I do have a counselor. His name is Dr. Gary White. But it's a lot cheaper when I'm having a tough time for me to go to a West African dance class and have some drums right in front of me and me kind of, well, don't make me do it in the chapel now. Okay? It's a lot cheaper, right? Would y'all agree? All right, that hourly rate can get into the 3 figures. Yeah? All right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about art and activism. Tell me what you think about that. Stand up, sis. Dígame, dígame. What do you think about that, art and activism?
I think that there is political art, and there are political artists who create art for movement's sake. And then there are cultural workers who are a part of movement and whose work is informed by movement.
Y'all think I set that up, right? No, she's just really, really evolved. Get it. Give it up for her, please. All right, let me have, before I even go on, let me have the co-chair of this wonderful, powerful conference, Sister L, come up here from It's Bigger Than You.
Hey, Nana.
So, we really, I think a week ago, myself, Brother Michael Samanga, and Sister L, we fought for this session.
Yes.
We said artists and cultural activists need to have just an hour. Can we get 1 hour? And so the crew, the team got together and said, yes, artists need a place. So what we're going to do today is we're going to meet a couple of artists who have chosen to not just do art to satisfy themselves. They help to heal themselves by their artistry, but they also are thinking about how it can heal others. So we're going to kind of enjoy a little bit of their artistry, and they're going to explain how they balance it. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Oh, I'm verbally affirmed. I'm going to need y'all to respond. So, do you understand what I'm saying? Oh, there you are. I feel better now. All right. So, for instance, Elle, how do you weave in artistry and activism?
Oh, this is real? Okay. I want to go back to what Sister Jessica Care said earlier last night. She said she was an activist before she was an artist. And my journey was a little bit different. Poetry found me when I was 13 years old. And there were a lot of life events that happened that kept me off the road that I was supposed to be on. And so spoken word helped me find that path again. And so that journey began there. That was the genesis, right? So the genesis was that poetry gave me back to myself. And so I started to see trends in revolutionary settings that poetry and spoken word and writing and literal works and music was able to give generations of people back to themselves. And so I think that work is important and it's necessary, and it's kind of, it's the stage manager of the production that is revolution, right? So we know that like there are the people on the front line, but then the songs that they're singing and the chants that they're chanting, the creators of that narrative aren't always lifted up in that way. So I think that work is just as important as the people who put their bodies on the line.
What y'all think? No? All right. Checking in. All right. Now, some people sitting in the back, we have made a request. Brother with the nice bow tie, can you come a little closer, please? We've made a request that we keep the energy close. This is the artistic segment. So we artistically love for people to be a little closer when we share. All right. So I want to have Elle introduce a couple of brothers that are artists and activists. They're going to share one piece with you, and then they're going to talk a little bit about how they balance their artistry and activism. Are y'all ready? Hold on. Oh, you don't have to go first. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's not. We don't have to go first. You want to go first? Hold on. All right. First of all, I have to warm y'all up because what happens in traditional circles. So a lot of my artistic training is in West African dance. So I've been doing West African dance for years, performing in companies in DC and Atlanta. And that balance is deep. I wish I could do it a little bit more, but I am really getting fed today. So the activism part is being souped up. But you best believe tomorrow I'm going to be up in the African dance class. So what happens is when you are choosing to be an artist, people see you in your art form. So give me a beat. Y'all ready? Y'all gonna give me a beat? Oh. Okay. Come on. Give me some. I need more of that. Go ahead. Okay, y'all need a clap. Come on. What? Not a weak clap. Are there any other dancers in the house? Any other dancers in the house? Come on. I just need somebody that don't mind getting in their art form a little bit. That don't mind. Anybody else don't mind? Anybody else don't mind? I want y'all to watch something because this is a part of the lesson. I want you to watch something. Keep going. Keep going. We just gonna flow.
Boom, boom.
So, this is a part of the exercise. Are y'all listening? Are your eyes on me? See, I'm one of those instructors. When I teach a dance class, I see what's happening in the back of the room. It matters to me if you're making eye contact. Are y'all ready? What do you think gave them help them make the decision to come up and do that? Confidence. What else? Support. What else? Peer pressure. What else? Energy, talent, experience. All right, guess what? Guess what? One of the number one misconceptions, y'all hear me? When you look at an artist, is that you think their artistry automatically comes with confidence. Am I right? Yes. It does not. It does not. Because something brings you joy, sometimes you want that more than you care about being embarrassed. Right? That's what we're talking about today. Give it up to the people that wanted joy more than they cared about being embarrassed. All right. I want to give a little bit of time to my sister Elle, and I want to bring Brother Malsiki up for a moment. Okay. Come on. How many of y'all know Brother Malsiki Scales? I want Brother Malsiki to give you all of his titles. Now, what y'all don't know is we both Geminis. We've been rocking our Gemini birthdays right around each other for years. So he has several titles, as I do. I want you to share with them not just what you do, but what your life's work has been. Okay?
How's everybody doing? My life work, my titles. I'm an instructor, professor at Georgia State University, band leader of Common Ground Collective, an Adensity herbalist trained in Ghana, in Kumasi. And daddy, father of Nzali and Minra. In terms of looking at my work in light of history, in light of the music, one of the things that I began to notice everywhere that I traveled, particularly in the black world, from Gary, Indiana to Senegal, is that no matter where you are in the black world, if there's no music at your function just ain't worth attending, right? Funk Jazz Cafe is tonight. People are like, who's the DJ, right? Who's performing? And it don't matter whether it's church or Funk Jazz Cafe. And one of the things I began to understand and began to realize in terms of studying history is that most of our music has some protest in it, even that which seems to be passive. Even those protest songs earlier on in terms of field hollers. And what I mean by that is if you begin to look at the blues music early on, there's so many references to taking a train somewhere, like anywhere. Or swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to take me home, carry me home. And of course, home was initially back to Africa. And after becoming Christianized, home began to be, heaven. And then eventually it began to be any place other than this God-forsaken cotton field that we found ourselves on. So this notion of leaving is a theme that we would see consistent in that experience. And I kind of became preoccupied with that. You can hear it in Bob Marley's Exodus. You could hear it in Sun Ra defining his band as an orchestra to remove black folks from oppression and carry us to intergalactic Egypt on another planet. And he called his band an orchestra. An orchestra. And a brother broke from that tradition and created something new some of y'all might be a little bit more familiar with, called the Mothership, right? George Clinton. Or whether it's Arrested Development, Tennessee, take me to another. So this idea of leaving seems to be even more of a protest than throwing our fists in the air. This idea of leaving and going back home. This idea of finding temporary rest and retrieve from the oppression of white supremacy seems to be a consistent theme, whether it's Fela Kuti, whether it's James Brown, or whether it's the blues music. 1739, 15 miles outside of Charleston, South Carolina, there was something called the Stono Rebellion that unfolded. In the early 1700s, most of South Carolina, 80%, were from the Congo-Angola region. South Carolina had a majority of African people, making it more like a Caribbean or Brazilian, South American country. That resistance that unfolded there unfolded in Stono Rebellion that took place on a Sunday morning in 1739. Why Sunday? Because whites would be in church and they would be unarmed. And in this rebellion, the drum was used to inform individuals on neighboring plantations of this effort to resist. So in looking at that, in 1740, the drum began to be outlawed in most southern states. And that's why the blues, the first creation of all of these Africans in North America, really doesn't have a strong drum. Nobody says, I'm singing the blues, right? You think about strings. So the strings come to the forefront. I know this might sound like a history lesson, but I use all of those moments to inform what takes place with the Common Ground Collective, what takes place in my music. Because I look at it as a situation of the responsibility of standing on the shoulders of my ancestors, standing on the shoulders of those that came before. And these experiences took place even before we left Africa. So in that experience, in terms of music, music has to do a lot more than us just shaking a tail feather. It has to do with, it's a very profound spirit that goes into music in terms of how people move and what's unfolding in that experience. In this idea of us, no matter where we are, and sometimes we shame the very music. I listen to some music some of y'all might be ashamed of, right? No Flex Zone and, Show Me, T.I. And I listen because it's something very creative unfolding in that music. It's like, for instance, there's this young man had this song some years ago. It's like, what did he say? He said, check my footwork. Or he's talking about his shoes, right? So we done heard plenty of songs about shoes. I got shoes, you got shoes, all got children got shoes, right? When I get to heaven, gonna put shoes matter. Y'all saw Glory when Denzel got his boots. He's a new man, right? Shoes matter. So then years later, my Adidas, old school people, Run DMC, right? My Adidas, get your shoe game right. Nelly, right? Band-Aid, Air Force Ones, right? So this one was like, check my footwork, check my footwork, check my foot. Quit looking at them hard because you ain't got these. I said, yin, right? Like, what is that? Right? Just one syllable, yin, right? He took, you do not have a pair of, right? Took 7 syllables. He's budgeting his words to, just yin. And how do you spell this yin? A professor at the university will bleed all over your paper in the English class talking about some yin. But we know what he meant. And interestingly, we're looking at African retentions deep within this music. I wonder if Iggy Azalea knows that. We're looking at African retentions even more so in hip-hop as a language, a way of delivering language, probably more than any other art form that we see today. And what do I mean by that? In the matter of putting words together, it's the grammar that defines a language. For instance, an Italian speaker that attempts to speak the target language of English, in Italian, most words end with a vowel phoneme. So a phrase like, tonight I'm going to eat some meatballs, right? Is going to sound like, tonight I'm going to eat some meatballs, right? Is an A at the end of each one of those words. But ain't no problem when Italians do that. They're not destroying English. And it's interesting that we have a double standard. I don't speak that way, right? So music is a space for us to reaffirm ourselves. It's a space, and it has always been that for us in this landscape in terms of Pan-Africanism. Denmark Vesey would establish that in one of his songs. We have this connectedness, whether we want to agree with it or not. Even if I see you at a conference and it's just the two of us, even in my denial of you and I go to the other side of the room because I don't want people to see us talking, I've admitted that we have a connection. So our earliest formation of that union took place in the ring shout, Reverend Kenyatta, right? In the ring shout, Macintosh. That notion of moving in a counterclockwise circle, right? Moving in a counterclockwise circle to establish unity. So I'm simply saying that a lot of these experiences that we've had collectively end up being some of the very spirit that informs what you see when you come to see Common Ground Collective. And it's not just the effort of one individual. One of the challenges that I heard, Jessica Care Moore say earlier when we were having some dialogue before is that many people assume that an artist's rent is paid. And Common Ground is a big band. I got 2 children, right? And so we're going to pass the plate right now. No, I'm just kidding, right? Now, but what I mean by that is when you look at Common Ground, do Second Line, do Afrobeat, in the places where those music styles originate, Fela and Femi and these sons, Nigerians will come and throw money at these individuals' feet because they know it takes a lot to keep that effort going. It's a community effort. And the same thing in New Orleans. There's social institutions to support those type of artists. To say, like, buy new uniforms, get new instruments. And it's interesting the assumptions that are made when artists put their last to pay musicians, to record music. So let's just think about that, in terms of when you see an artist trying to sell you their CD for $5 or what have you. So, my mama said I should have been a preacher. I'm going to sit down now. Yes.
Tell us really briefly, how is it that you have chosen to balance being an artist, and how are you an activist through your artwork? I know you've given us kind of an overview and what motivates you, but how do you do it on a day-to-day basis? There could be people out there that are like, man, I would love to paint, but I have bills to pay. Or I would love to sing a song and dance every 3-4 times a week, but I have bills to pay. Right. How do you do it? And over the years of you doing it, what advice would you give for whatever you've had to learn the hard way?
Wow. One of the ways that I've been able to do it is I end up taking my daytime check to fund, this musical revolution or what have you. And also try to have a group of musicians, not so much that are the best, but that have an overlapping interest in what's happening with African people, right? So, it helps when you have allies. In terms of the activism, I found that education also makes for an excellent arena to begin to share that same vision. So in the different schools where I'm teaching, whether that's Quilombo, Pearl Academy, Georgia State, Agnes Scott, I'm on tour, Clark Atlanta University, Morehouse, Morris Brown. These different spaces, actually some of my drummers and horn players went to those institutions, and I would kind of pull them in and try to have them share that vision. But it's been very, very challenging to try to maintain because life continues to go on. And I think that in those spaces where I found myself where it seems like that vision is going to be compromised, I've tried to do kind of what Fela said, water has no enemy. Try to be more like water. Bruce Lee said it too. It's like, if you find that you're being blocked here, one door is closed, another is open, to go a different route. Not necessarily always to just push through, but yeah, indeed, to push through one way or another. And there's very much been community support. There are times where, I would say, I wasn't raised playing in a church that had like the old school funky gospel. My parents were part of that migration where we're like, we don't sing that type of music. We don't clap our hands. So I wasn't feeling that funk, that was in me. My brother had these big black CDs called albums, and I was so deeply into his albums that I was like, oh man, Earth, Wind and Fire. I always wanted that big band thing, but it's definitely taken community support. The Malcolm X grassroots movement has been supportive. So many different individuals that see the vision. But then there are times where you feel like it's something where people just assume you will always be there. Can you do this for free? Can you volunteer? Brother, it's for the community, it's for the kids. But if you come and do it for free, you're paying to play. So it's a challenge to go somewhere and then give your hard-earned efforts. Then I'm looking in the mirror a few years, I'm like, gray hairs are showing up on my head. I thought I was the same individual I was 20 years ago. And then it matters over time to try to have that community support. Also the support of artists. On my last CD, there were 63 people playing on that CD. You can get my CD on iTunes. I have a few copies here. I meant to bring more. I don't know, if you care to support, I'll be over here. The name of the CD is Passages, The Water Brought Us. The Water Brought Us. It features Julie Dexter, Jahi Kears, and 61 other individuals, including myself, but definitely a community effort. One of the days that we recorded that CD, we got together at 10 in the morning, and we didn't finish recording until 2 the next morning. And people came in waves and stayed. So it's definitely been the energy of community. Right.
Give it up, Brother Masiki. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the fabulous young artist. Do we need a chair? Do we need setup? You need a chair? Come on, brother, bring it. Can you, somebody fill in, help the brother bring a chair over? Okay. All right. So I want you guys to get a pen and paper out, or get your phone out. I want to give you a resource. There is a wonderful documentary I would love for you to check out. It's called Amandala, Amandla, Amandala, A Revolution in 4-Part Harmony. Amandala, A Revolution in 4-Part Harmony. Hi, Molly. It's a wonderful, wonderful documentary about how you've seen it. Man, I think it's one of my favorite documentaries ever. It talks about the revolution in South Africa and how music and dance helped to strike fear into the hearts of those that were trying to continue the suppression even when the people weren't there. There's a scene where the South African officers that would stand and hold the guns at the sea of children. And they said the children were doing this dance called the Toy Toy. And all the officers are sitting and they're chatting about, he says, they do that Toy Toy and it sends chills up my spine. I can't think about the Toy Toy to this day. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to send chills. You're supposed to bring that artistry with you in a revolution. So are we ready? Are y'all ready? Now let me tell you, you can't have artists come up here, expose their heart and soul, and y'all not give them some energy. Can y'all please say you're ready? Show you're ready. Thank you.
I need that mic too, because this one ain't gonna fit in.
It's not gonna fit?
It ain't.
Go ahead. So while we're doing some setup, hey y'all.
It's off. It's just
So
it isn't big enough to hold the mic.
So you want me to hold it for? I can hold it.
Yeah, I can just use that one. If that one's on, I can. Is this one on?
Okay, well, artists always got to do last minute impromptu vibe stuff. So if we could get a brother or a sister, can one of my IBTY brothers come up and hold the mic for Bright Sun so he can get this vibe on real quick? Okay, so like I said earlier, my home base is spoken word poetry and also lifting up artists in general. So I have with me Bright Sun, his amazing singer and writer, performer, activist, as well as Joyce There, who is an amazing lyricist and spitter. And so we came up with, 30 minutes ago, a little quick, you know how we do, cypher vibe. Then we just invite you guys to share with us. And this is we never practiced it or nothing, so we just gonna go ahead and go with it.
Right.
Ashe and amen.
Right. This is an original song that I wrote. It's called Freedom.
Over the side, I'm willing to die for freedom, for my freedom. No more pain in my eyes. I'm taking a dive for freedom, for my freedom. 'Cause freedom never comes to those who wait. We all pray it's coming soon, but comes too late. And no longer can we procrastinate. While our brothers' lives they tried to take. So cast me over the
Y'all clap, y'all clap.
I'm willing to die for freedom, for my freedom. No more pain in these strides. I'm taking a dive for freedom, my freedom. 'Cause what a man does with his life should be for which he's willing to die. And no longer can we pacify. Are you willing to die for yours just like like I'm willing to die for my own. Cast me over the side. I'm willing to die here for freedom, for my freedom. No more pain in my eyes. I'm taking a dive here for freedom, for my freedom.
Another body gone ghost. His name was Zion and Bark. Her body was statue and sage. Another warrior turned war cry. Another ashe burned to ashes. And this poem, it can't be a memoir. This poem can't be a relic, won't be a reflection on life and black and all things ever after. I refuse to use my tongue for tombstone. Not today, not no more. Not when war is raged on the way my brothers wear their crowns on their heads. Half cocked, knees soft, mouths broad and cocky and unwilling to wilt. Looking all Darren's barrel turned backward, sounding like martyrdom escaped. The slang of their lips like red wine and incense in here spits acid in here, trying to corrode these chains. There's a war raged on freedom songs that is the black woman. All her motherland and mother's love. We just reservoirs holding the weight. We all just jaws resurrecting her name. They don't call her what she is, they silence her with what she ain't. This ain't a eulogy for the black temple, cause we got enough of them. This ain't no space, there ain't no space in my mouth for docile prayers and unwatered cotton. No loose noose nor necktie. This poem gon' tell us what to do with gun residue, with the aftermath and afterbirth of a home going gone the worst way. When the legs grow weary, when the voice is hoarse, when his mother's tears have turned the skin raw, when her father's prayers have lost his fervor, when the elders name us vessels but forget to invest in us, when the guns sound in Ferguson but my lips leak blood in solidarity. This poem is a call to arms. The horizon is aching to glow red for her children, so brothers, ready your teeth. Sisters, gather your guns. The blood of our black runs thick, runs ink, runs speak up and speak out, runs to the mountain, runs over the hill and everywhere, runs everywhere but here. We everywhere but here. We yesterday and tomorrow. We today too. We red, black, and blue too. We liberty chilled and warm and straight and shot down. We shot up. We still rise. We shoot up. We still rise. We pass over the sun. We pass over the sun. We
So cast me over the side. I'm willing to die for freedom, for my freedom. No more pain in my eyes. I'm taking a dive for freedom, for my freedom. Cast me over the side. I'm willing to die for freedom, for my freedom. No more pain in my eyes. I'm taking a dive for freedom, for my freedom. Cast me over the side. I'm willing to die for freedom, for my freedom. No more pain in my eyes. I'm taking a dive for freedom, for my freedom.
yeah.
I got
You got one more?
yeah, I got one more with him.
You
on it.
killed it, so of course. Go
Okay.
ahead.
This one is called Territorial. It's like a non-violent, but yeah, it's supposed to be non-violent, but this is really how I feel. So, with respects to everyone.
Oh, we got it. Oh.
Yo, you got one?
Yeah, I'm good.
Psst, y'all can hear me right?
Alright. Alright. So this is called Territorial. I hope that y'all feel what I feel.
It's hot out in the streets. Even worse now, it's even hot out in the heat. I say, it's so hot out in the streets. Even worse now, it's even hot out in the heat. These shootings in broad day, where I'm from, they leave you right where you lay.
Come on, son.
These jokers joking around. Well, before I allow you to take me down, I'm gonna take you out. Oh, I'm gonna take you out. Yeah. 'Cause if you walk into our territory, I'm taking you out. I'm taking you out. This ain't no tall tale or no story. I'm taking you out. That's without a shadow of doubt. 'Cause if you walk into my territory, I'm taking you out. I'm taking you out. This ain't no tall tale or no story. I'm taking you out. That's without a shadow of doubt. I'm taking you out. They tried to ruin my day. Don't you see now? This could be the end of your days. Why you trying to ruin our day? Don't you see now? This could be your very last day. Let down your guard. Is love truly that hard? Come on. These jokers joking around. Well, before I allow you to take me down, 'cause if you walk into my territory, I'm taking you out. I'm taking you out. This ain't no tall tale or no story. I'm taking you out. That's without a shadow of doubt. 'Cause if you walk into my territory, I'm taking you out. I'm taking you out. This ain't no tall tale or no story. I'm taking you out. That's without a shadow of doubt.
What would it take to capture me on a scrap of paper? And take a pen and go to work to paint the perfect picture. To paint a portrait of the persecuted Jaguars paw from Apocalypto. I will change the script though. If y'all don't like it, fine man. Y'all don't got the trip though. I'm like a narcoleptic klepto. I said what that mean? That mean I can't fall asleep while I'm still in y'all show. And I ain't even gotta act like y'all don't know. That's why I broadcast my conquest on YouTube. Yo, I apply my gray matter to the matters on the table. Breaking up presidential promise to keep the guards under the table. I am like a fable. A black messiah risen to unify and electrify the black masses, driven by the breath of God that was in prison in the ghetto, told him crooks and in books, told him banners to let go. 7 seal broken, give me my eyes, found a vision of the oracle. Now I see lies, seen the beaten path. I flip my pen to beat a new one, grab ink cartridges and reload, cause the pen is the new gun. I said I grab ink cartridges and reload, cause the pen is the new gun. I go to battle with these forces every day of every week. They making homonyms and synonyms until I fall asleep. Wake up with a different pen in hand than the one I went to rest with. And we not rest until we prove that we the best, kid. I remember when Mike Brown got shot, I heard the sound. And that's where I'm from, the South. So we heard it go around, the sound of shot that went around the world. You've seen it a million times. All my brothers in the streets, I said we want $1 million. This is the marching downs with my brothers. We out here struggle fighting. These people out here know they tell it this is alright, and they swear to God it's alright. And so I'ma fight it with my writing. We gon' keep it if you walk in our territory. What happened?
You walk into my territory, I'm taking you out.
Y'all can sing along.
I'm taking you out. This ain't no time to tell no story. I'm taking you out. I'm taking you out. Cause if you walk into my territory, I'm taking you out. I'm taking you out. This ain't no time to tell no story. No, I'm taking you out. That's without a shadow of doubt. I'm taking you out.
Yes! 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 Keep it coming. Yes! 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 I'll give you time. I'll give you time. Yes! Yes!
Which one is it?
Get that square out. Come on. Okay, have a seat. Don't move. Get a chair, brother. Woo! Come on now.
Y'all, I said I wasn't gonna cry today. Stop.
Come on now.
God.
I love artists. I love artists. Artists get me through. We got to find a way. We talked about anguish to activism last night. What do you do with that anguish? How do you keep yourself mentally and emotionally healthy while being an activist? You need the music. You need the culture. You need the dance. You need art. You need artists. There should be no organizer that leaves this room, goes back to where they came from without thinking, I need an artist to accompany me everywhere I go. I need 10 artists to accompany me. I have to find a way for the artists that are a part of what I believe in to be with me, by my side. How can you not build with something like that next to you? All right, I went on a tangent, excuse me. All right, I want to do a little bit of interactivity, and then we're going to close out with the phenomenal sister Jessica Care Moore and Mausiki Scales. And we're going to do a little bit of a jam session, but I want to hear from, we have a couple of visual artists in the house. All right, Thomaston. What's happening? Thomaston, Georgia in the house. All right, we have a couple visual artists here, and I want to know if I can get a visual artist to come up here and tell this beautiful community about your work. And I'm looking in one direction in particular. All right, we did it. Peer pressure. 2. Crowd 0. All right. Oh, tell everybody what your name is, what your art form is, what medium you are partial to, and then how do you balance being a visual artist and being an activist? And break down a little definition of what visual artistry is. I think we're in the know, and there may be some that are not.
Okay. All right, my name is Denise Smith. I am what you would call a visual artist. So visual artistry to me, I can't give a textbook definition, but it's communication through the eyes, through vision. So for me in life in general, like life is, the world is my canvas, and whatever I do, my actions, my thoughts, that's the paint that I put on that canvas. So art through activism through art is really a form of living. So I will have a disclaimer. I'm in school right now, so art is right now. I told somebody that engineering was like hustle. I think the professor. Yeah, he said that he uses that his money from that day job to kind of supplement what he really wants to do. So engineering is a civil engineering. So that's a hustle, and I'm in school right now trying to graduate. So that's what I'll use to actually do what I want to do. My company is called Miracle by Daz. It started off as a sole proprietorship when I was in the 8th grade. The first thing I did was I drew Elmer Fudd on the T-shirt. So that was my first thing. I've always been kind of a hustler-minded kind of child. I was selling like ham and cheese in high school, ham and cheese sandwiches. But what I'm saying is that so it started off as kind of a hustle. So I was just selling T-shirts. I started doing fabric painted, T-shirts. Students at my school would buy it. But then my art started reflecting my shift in mind, my shift in thought, my shift in my level of consciousness. So as I move forward in whatever I'm doing, I see the shift from art being for myself and for art being for a community. So now I use art as a form of education. So I have like Assata Shakur posters, and they'll have maybe her quotes or her Assata Shakur, her poems, or a tote bag that has a quote of MLK, one of the more militant quotes. So we don't have to paint this pretty picture of who MLK was. I have a dream one. So Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, so all these different things, or even the tote bag that has a 13th Amendment on there, and it actually shows what it actually says. It says pretty much slavery is ended, but not for people who are convicted of a crime. So it's a way to get our information and a way to get our education. So it's another form, because a lot of people maybe don't want to read a textbook, but it's a way to get information out. But so Miracle by Daz is my company, my sole proprietorship. Yeah, www.miraclebydaz.com.
Spell it.
Miracle, MIRACLE, and I chose that because that was miracle means a work of God, or a creation. So work of God meaning the God that's in me. So Miracle by BY Daz DAS.com. And that's the main way, or Miracle by Daz on Twitter. At Twitter or Facebook. All right, I do mostly customized artwork, and I'm not trying to plug myself. Really, I'm trying to connect myself with more organizations and even do pro bono work. So the FTP movement is one organization that I'm partnering with, doing like logos and trying to get more involved with the community. So that's all I have to say.
All right, give it up. What I encourage you to do, if I can have Brother Masiki hit them keys, not just yet, but have a seat. And if I can have beautiful Sister Jessica Caramore come on up here. What I really want to do is I really would love for everybody to keep in contact with these artists. Okay? They're reachable. And artists really enjoy seeing that the work that they're doing has an impact. So if you don't give feedback and you're sitting there going, man, I don't even want to interrupt because it's so nice what they're doing and I just love what I'm seeing, know that you play a part in an artist's life by giving them feedback, giving them ashes, giving them good energy. Can you please tell them how to reach you?
On any social media network, it's Bright Sun Music. That's Sun with an O, so Bright Sun Music. On Facebook, it's Bright Sun, SON, just that, no music on the end. But SoundCloud, Instagram, Twitter. There's one more, Reverb Nation. Everything that exists. No, BRIGHT SON MUSIC. Bright Sun Music. Yes, Freedom Territorial is on there. It's on the SoundCloud.
And yeah, you can listen to it. It's just off of my cell phone, so dig that. Nah.
You hear that? All right, now, I was feeling a little pressure. Who came last night? Raise your hand high. Did you all hear Brother Michael Samanga's introduction of Jessica Caramore?
Can I do that?
A sister is feeling the pressure. So I decided that I'll just go hug her until I pass her the mic and pray that you all feel how much I love and appreciate this sister, not just as a phenomenal poet and artist, but also as a mother, a fellow mother that for her artistry, for her activism, has to sometimes sacrifice time from the babies. And if y'all understand a mother's pain of not being able to be there next to her child, for me to even be here, for her to even be here and our babies not be right next to us is a pain we have to compartmentalize. But it's because we care. And so I want you all to understand how much I love and appreciate this sister. And I'm not even going to try and follow Brother Michael Samanga, but just know that she is so phenomenal and you're about to be blessed.
Okay, thank you so much. You made me think about my baby. Thank you, Anana. Thank you. Yeah, Mike, that was too much. So, where you want me to stand? I'm looking at your directions. By Masiki. I like being next to Masiki. We're going to record next time we're here. So, I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about really right now. I'm just going to say that as I've gotten older, and I have been a mom for a long time. I have a 19-year-old son, Omari, and my son, King, is 8. And I've had 3 other stepchildren that I helped take care of when I was married to their dad, and still in touch with my beautiful stepdaughter who's a freshman at Georgia Southern. So motherhood has been a part of my journey as a full-time, been a full-time poet and writer for over 20 years. I've traveled all over the world on poems. Yeah, thank you. And I can say, you know, most people say they go to Europe to make the money. In Europe, I do really large shows, you know, they promote the shows in a bigger way. But I've made my living definitely in the States, and a lot of that in the black community, you know, supporting my work. And so I'm happy I can say that I don't have to go move to Paris in order for people to get it. And I know that my friends who've gone that route often feel very isolated after about 6 months. They just can't wait to get back around some black people. And so I appreciate it, but it's not easy. And the reason why I made the point about rent when we were having the little pre-cipher was because people do make assumptions, because I became famous on television before I had my first book out. I was just 22 years old on the Apollo, and I didn't know I was young, but I was actually young and full of fire, right? But in all these poems, and I didn't, you know, and so that because I became famous on the Apollo and through television, a place that doesn't usually have revolutionary thinkers and workers or whatever, right? I had to go out of my way to prove myself to the literary art scene and some of like the snooty folks, especially in the very competitive New York City that I was living in, and I was a Detroiter, to prove that I was actually a poet and writer. I want to just be clear, though, that I've been writing poetry since I was about 9 years old. So poetry and writing were first. What I meant when I said I was an activist first, because that's when I realized, because I wasn't calling it anything. I wrote poetry because I wrote poetry. It was just in my blood. It was something that I just did. I didn't realize I could ever, growing up in a place called Detroit, be a poet for a living. I went to Wayne State and Michigan State University so I can go get a job like everybody else. I was taught to go become a part of the workforce like everybody else, a blue collar worker. You go get a job. You don't go major in poetry. I was never told I can go get an MFA in poetry, or that's not a conversation anybody had with me. So I say that to say that what is that? AC just came on. I always blame shit on George Bush. Anyway, he's not even in office. I still blame him. I'll be like, it's George Bush. He's going to be dead and still trying to do stuff, interrupt our process. Anyway, so you too tall to be trying to bend down like that and go past the camera. Okay. So let me just say this. I love being a mom, and the thing is, when you start
it's like just what the sister said about me leaving my son. Like this weekend was very difficult for me to leave my son because I've been on the road and I'm tired now. So if you see me, if I look like I'm tired, it's not because I'm not excited. I'm just on little sleep. And some of the things I do, like this, I do for, this is love. This is not, I'm not making any money to being in Atlanta this weekend, right? I appreciate the brother, you know, the attorney Davis for bringing me in, but I didn't come here saying, oh, well, my fee is. You know, that's the first conversation I have when I'm getting on a plane anywhere. And so when I went to Ferguson, there wasn't a check waiting on me. So we had to pay for the hotel we were in. We had to eat. We spent money in Ferguson. We spent money to be there. That's real. All of us who are there, me and Kweli got kids. He ain't rich. He's making a living as an artist, but he's working, you know, working artist. And so just you can't take those kind of things for granted. And earlier, I didn't want people to feel bad. I'm trying to make you buy my books. But I have to say that if you don't support people like me, because of the other artists, I mean, you know, imagine if we said, I could just say any name pop artist was going to be here. It'd be lines. Y'all would be out there, you know, trying to get in and have to have big screens to hear them talk about whatever, like they real important or whatever, right? But they're not really doing the relevant work that's relevant to you in your lives. I'm doing work the books that I'm writing are something that you could put in classrooms. So if you're an educator and you don't have my books in your curriculum, or you're a black woman and you haven't bought one of my books yet, you need to catch up. And I said it as a joke to some of the young girls that walked out yesterday, but I was really serious when I said, y'all need to catch up. If you don't know who I am, then you haven't been doing your job as a woman in general who supports art or artists. And I mean, you don't know. And I'm not doing that as a plug to plug my book or nothing like that. That's cool, but I mean, it's not, but it isn't even, because this is the 13th book on my press. So don't even get this one. Go get the first one and start in 1997, because that's how long I've been institution building, you know, since I got it. So, you know, so since 1997, I started More Black Press and published my friend Saul Williams' first book. Saul Williams, who I think went to this school called Morehouse, and who's a very famous poet now. But before the corporate white publishers got to him, I saw his talent first. And I recognized, and he knew that I was more famous than him first. He didn't give me my book because I was a nobody. He gave me my book because I won the Apollo, and none of the other New York poets had books. And so as the Detroit representative of what it looks like to make art work, I invested about $5,000 or $10,000 and started my publishing house. And I'm telling you, publishing is a thankless job. And people tell me when they want to start publishing houses, I just look at them like, do you really? You know, and I'm doing poetry. Now, I don't do urban fiction with corny covers and bad grammar and my baby daddy stories. I got them, but I don't talk about them in books, right? I mean, I do, but in an intelligent way. And I don't, you know, it's just bad editing and all that. So I could be doing urban fiction, right? I could be doing bozo work and getting paid. I have friends of mine that started those urban fiction houses. They on Essence bestseller list. That's what Essence puts on their bestseller list. Like, you know, chains around the neck, my baby mama drama, whatever. You know, I'm sexy. I'm a Scorpio. I can write sexy books. I just choose to do something else with my gift than try to get y'all excited. You know what I mean? While reading the books. Hopefully you're excited in a different kind of way. And so it's not a hard way. My sister looked at me once and she said, well, you know, Jessica, I don't know how you understand how you do it, because I have a baby and I'm a mother, so I can't quit my job and be a poet. And I said, well, I'm a mother and I have sons and I take care of other people's kids that I didn't even make, and I take care of my own. And I said, and I gotta do it because of my children. I get on the planes because of my son. I went to Ferguson because of my sons. You know, I continue to not have a 9-to-5 job and figure out a way to make a way because of my children. You know, my son, if you ask my son King, my son is King. If you ask King, what does mommy do? Who's mommy work for? Mommy work for mommy. That's it. He don't know nothing else. Do you know how empowered my 8-year-old son is right now? Because he doesn't even believe you're supposed to grow up and get a job. He does not believe it. He's starting his own. He's got his restaurant he working on called Metro Veggie, okay, because he's a vegetarian. And he wants to make Metro. I'm not telling you his idea. Try to steal his idea. Anyway, because he's brilliant. Y'all really trying to let me get it patented and copywritten first before I start telling off my kings, my baby stuff. So it's been a struggle. If you have my third book, God Is Not an American, I wish I had it. Somebody bought it. But I have a poem called the DHS Office poem number 7. And I'm just going to tell you this quick story, and me and Masiki go get down. But It's called DHS. It's called the Department of Human Services, which is the welfare office in Detroit. I lived in Atlanta for 7 years. I've had a couple of husbands while I was in Atlanta. I left them all in Atlanta, okay? I will come to visit Atlanta. I will never live in this mug again. I love the South. I will visit, I will perform, I will do community work. I ain't going to get a house. I'll shade to the sisters who can make it work. But it's a lot of y'all out. There's a lot of women out here. And I'm busy. You know what I'm saying? I got things. I'm busy. So I left Atlanta. I had lived away from Detroit for 12 years. You know, been a grown-up, right? I got a house off. I went from Oak Street in Abernathy to trying to be a grown-up and I got a house on Cascade. And my marriage, like, fell apart. My baby was 10 months old. And I did the most fearless thing I can imagine doing. I left all of it. And things, you know, it was so deep because in my book I have this poem called They Only Ask About the House. Because I swear, Mike, come on now, all anybody wanted to know was about what was happening with my 3,600 square foot, 5-bathroom, 4-bedroom house. Now, how's your baby? How are you, Jessica? Do you need some money? I'm back in Detroit. I went back to Detroit with nothing. My husband stopped taking care of his responsibility as a husband and as a father, and has been that way ever since. And I went back to a place in Detroit where there was no full-time poets. There no real lot of, I know all the full-time artists. We all on the road. YG, Invincible, you know, Black Milk, Dwayne as my neighbor. We all friends. I mean, you know, there's like about 25 of us that are famous. We got some of the baddest musicians in the world, without question, some of the baddest, right? So I live off the music that's there, because the musicians, it's in the water in Motown. We can't help ourselves, right? So I say that to say I did something, the most fearless thing I've ever done was to leave fearlessly and go. The second thing, the first time was going to New York by myself with nothing, to move to Brooklyn to just become a part of whatever. Yeah, and was that clap because I said Brooklyn? Okay, y'all so gangster. All right, that wasn't clap because I went to Brooklyn. It's because Brooklyn exists, right? So Brooklyn's in the house. All right. So well, the brothers are not tall enough, Masiki. You go there, you be like, oh, Masiki. Anyway, so I'm silly in between. I'm so serious. I gotta be silly. So I'm saying this to say that I went back home, right, with no job. I haven't had a 9-to-5 job in 20 years. And I didn't know, my brothers would be like, well, you're going to have to go get a job. I was like, well, what do you suggest I do? I've been living off poetry forever, and you know this. And so this becomes this thing. So I'm going to just tell the young people who discourage you from being artists because it doesn't seem like the easy way, or you got to go be a civil engineer when you really want to paint, that you actually can make a living as an artist. And I can connect you with so many amazing painters that do it. And they make large amounts of money for just, you know, a couple canvases. So it's a longer road and it's more difficult, but you'll never be happy going to go work for somebody else or build some engine or whatever you might do that's outside of what you really love, if that's not what you really love. And so I absolutely love what I do. But I went back to Detroit and I kept a lot of faith. And I continued to make artwork and call people, and I realized after a few months that people hadn't forgotten who I was. And so I went downtown to get an overpriced loft at the Lofts on Merchant Road, $1,400 a month. Detroit is tripping, right? Downtown, I got the lease for 6 months. One of my family members said to me, who I love, don't you think you're living outside your means? No, he was right, I was. I shouldn't have got it, right? But I had to, because if I would have gone to the West Side to go get a little apartment where I can, like, for $400 or $500 a month to live near where I grew up, then somebody would have won, the devil, right? Because the devil wanted me to go do that, and I couldn't do that. So me and my son had to have a nervous breakdown, or mommy had to have hers in style. I had valet parking. No, for real. And my son had a fresh loft and a bed, and I was on I gave up my California King in Atlanta and all the Cascade, whatever that meant, right? And got a blow-up mattress. And I slept on that for 6 months. And we was one of the nicest loft space in New York City. And I did that because I wasn't going to let my standard of living go down because I had to come home. People love your tail between your legs. You know, oh, here she coming back home. You know, she ain't got no job. How's she going to figure this out? You know, they waiting for you to break. So I went and got a loft downtown that they couldn't afford with no job. And they just confused. How she gonna pay that? Oh, because somebody gonna give me $5,000, come show up somewhere. I bet you they do. And I did. I paid that rent 6 months for 1 gig, right? Did that, and me and King was chilling. And I got out of there because I was stupid and overpriced. You know what I mean? So we did it for 6 months. But I never allowed anybody to take me off my square and make me feel less than who I was because somebody I decided to marry and love and have a baby with lost his or her mind. You know, whatever, whoever it is in your life, decided to like fall off. You know, that wasn't going to be my journey. And my son is named King, so he has a certain way that he has to grow up, right? So that's that. And so all of that, to say that all of that informs my work and my writing. And this piece I'm going to do with Masiki because my project I'm really excited. I'm signed to Talib Kweli's label. He's my friend of 19 years. Woo! Somebody finally helped me do something. And I have an incredible quartet in Detroit. John Dixon, who's my piano player, who I want you to meet, Masiki. Y'all love each other. So real good brother, real talented. And he wrote this amazing album for me. And we did it together in a really small room. And I recorded it right in Detroit. But it'll be out in early 2015. Kweli and I got a great song together. Jose James is on my single. Roy Ayers is playing vibes on my song. So if you haven't seen Poetry with Music, you know, I don't know, we just tore down the Kansas City Jazz and Blues Festival, you know, with Roy Hargrove and Michelle Deggy and cello. And because I'm telling you, I'm on a mission to, like, let people see this music they don't let you see, because I'm a child of Gil Scott-Heron. And Gil Scott-Heron has daughters and sons, but we don't get spoken word Grammys, and we don't get radio play, and we don't get a lot of, you know, a lot of y'all just are disconnected from us, so you don't see what we've been doing with poetry and music for such a long, long time. You know, so I don't know what you call it. We just call it music. And we be going to places and putting on clinics. And so this is just a piece because my whole album is dedicated to women like Etta James and Phyllis Hyman and Billie Holiday and Abby Lincoln and, you know, Jane Cortez. And so, you know, these women, and most of the singers that I named are women who we love, right? We love Etta James, right? We love Billie Holiday, but were they loved good enough when they were here? And so for me, my mantra as a mother and an artist is to no matter how hard it got, because some women who had went through what I went through with Atlanta and went back to Detroit might have been sticking something in their arm, putting something up in their nose, smoking it out every night to stress out, drinking it at the bar. It's easy, you know, it's easy. I'm pretty drug-free for an artist. I don't smoke. I'm serious. I'm such a cornball. I just have a glass of wine sometimes just so I can say I'm edgy. Last night I was like, well, make it look like a drink, you know, I mean, because I act crazy when I'm drunk, when I'm not drunk, so I could just, you know, people think I'm drunk as an excuse for my madness, but you know what I mean? And so that's the point, is that, you know, my mantra is to stay alive, that my son, my story is not going to be I'm in a bathtub in some white man's hotel, you know what I mean, with stuff in my, and I'm like one of the best singers of my generation. Like Whitney, I cry, I loved Whitney Houston, I've met her, I loved her, who didn't? You know what I'm saying? She was in Detroit for her last film. It's like, that's not how Whitney Houston is supposed to go out, but we watched her die on international television. We watched her kill herself. And so this is for Etta James, because I was hurt when Etta died, and I thought about her story. So it's kind of like a blues haiku. I kind of made it up. Me and Masiki going. But I'm going to have y'all help me do it. I'm going to say, it ain't like we don't like loving. Y'all say that. It ain't like we don't like loving. We die for the blues because we born with it. It ain't like we don't like loving. We die for the blues because we born with it. It ain't like we don't like loving. Madness, the veil of the mic, our voice flight. Memories don't lie. We die broken hearts, transparent art. They clap, pretend to be smart. Proof of existence, feminine, fossil for frauds. We cry, we birth, we deliberate smile, forced in our mouths, open, history pours out. It ain't like we don't love candles or ashes lit. We the flames smoking. America holds our hearts, the royalty owns our essence, rebels. Music is not yours to take. Music is not yours to take. Stone rolling blues runs deep in these thick veins. The beautiful ones, along with the notes, dancing inside a body. Spirit fills the void, laughter measured, broke holy bread, we melt on tongues. At last, rock and roll gets on its knees. Thanks, mama shall come first, they say. It ain't like we pray to a different God, you know. Amen. Ashe. Peace. It ain't like we pray to a different God, you know. Amen. Ashe. Peace. Wonder what they do with our bones. Build a shrine. Queens sleep in death, I guess. Our legs still shake. Shed our skin. Borrow wind as breath. Lucy has daughters. Lucy has daughters. Fatherless, but still daddy meant the world, cause absence makes art grow fonder. Blind is a blessing when you got eyes everywhere looking for your flaws. Etta, it's Sunday. Etta, it's Sunday. As I write this, 12:09, kinda love these tears. It ain't like we dream of knights in armor shining, not since music played. At a wedding stop, pain inspires genius tongue. I made that man great. Know your place, brown girl. Don't sing that truth too loud. You better scream it through the speakers. Cause it ain't like we don't like loving. It ain't like we don't like loving. We die for the blues cause we born with it. We die for the blues because we're born with it. We die for the blues because we're born with it. It ain't like we don't like loving. Thank you. Love y'all. Love you. I can't take it. I'm taking you on the road.
Hold on, come back. All right, we're going to close out because my boss is giving me the look. Real quick, raise your hand if you feel like you received something today in this session. Put your hands down. Now raise your other hand if you feel like in the next 30 days you can at least go to one artistic performance or experience. All right, I got one more. Raise your hand if you can remember the contact information of at least one person that spoke here today. Hold on. Excuse me, brother.
Bright Sun Music on Instagram, SoundCloud, Twitter, all that good stuff.
Reverb Nation, yes. Raise your hand if you know Sister Jessica Care Moore's contact information.
JessicaCareMoore.com.
All right. Oh, I'm coming. Give it to him.
I'm rebuilding my YouTube, so you can stay tuned for that. But my Twitter and Instagram handles are Elevation, ELLEVATION_, and my blog is theelevatedword.wordpress.com.
It's Almost Yoezer, so the word almost, and then my name Yoezer, YOEHZER, and that's Instagram, Twitter. You can find Yoezer on Facebook, YOEHZER, and Vine. I'm on Vine too.
All right, Masiki. Oh, we got cards. Hold on now. We got cards up here. All right, raise your hand if you're an artist. Stand up if you're an artist. Stand up if you're an artist. Stand up if you're an artist. I want everybody to raise your hands like this. Face the artist. Not the artist. Sorry. Face the artist. Come on, Diane. Raise your hands. Face the artist. Full participation. I'm in dance teacher mode. All right. Look at the artist and say, we love you. We appreciate you. And we will support you financially as well. That was long. Give all the artists a hand.
I wanted to say one thing. I I got a play that I wrote the soundtrack for. It's called Soundtrack Covered in Black. It's sponsored by V103 here locally. And so it'll be coming November 1st at 7 o'clock, Port of Sanford, Decatur, Georgia. Feel free to come out. Tickets are $20. Feel free to come out. It's a beautiful show. It's creating awareness about domestic violence and that, you know, just to be aware in so many other spectrums outside. Soundtrack Covered in Black. And I'll have flyers as well.
All right, everybody good? How did that renew your spirit? Because I know some of y'all ate and I saw folk like getting ready to nod off because I know what happens sometimes to us when we eat. Itis. But we've got work still left to do. Right? We still got work to do. I know it's like, man, they keep pushing. You right, we keep pushing because they keep coming. And so we ain't going to back up. They got to brace. Right? So we're going to keep banging and we're going to bring forward. We're starting our 3 o'clock workshop sessions. Can we give it up for the artists one more time? My brother Musiki Scales.